If you've ever wanted to export or import your things in a CSV file, then here's what you'll need to do. In this case, we'll be going through this folder, the endpoint folder, and trying to export sessions. So you'll understand why I'm mentioning this now for later. So in order to export it, let's go ahead and grab our selection. We're going to go to export and then select export special, which then allows us to get to export selection CSV. So once here, you can click on the option, and here you'll have exactly the information that'll be necessary or that will end up being in your CSV file. So we have our name, our entry type, host, as well as our folder, and each column has the information for each entry under the headers. So once this is chosen, we can go ahead and either select all or unselect all data entries. So right now they're all selected by default, but if I click this right here, they'll all be selected or not selected. Next, we have the option to change. So if ever we want to do more than just a CSV, HTML, XLSX, or XML, we have the options here to do that. You can also resolve variables. So maybe you have variables in your entries. If that's the case, then you can resolve the variables here. And lastly, we will have to add a password before exporting the CSV. This allows us to encrypt the CSV and keep the actual file secure. That way, no one can just grab the CSV and just import it at will. They'll need to know the password first. So we will add our password here and click on export. Once that's done, we can select our, now you'll notice here, it's being exported in a zip file. So if I click save, it will end up in our desktop here, since this is where I've added it. We can choose to extract. So now that we have the entry list zip file, we'll see here that we can extract. So we're going to just extract the files here. I will add my password, click on OK, and we should have our list here. So there we go. This is our CSV. So the password I put in earlier is actually for the extraction of the zip file. So once this is done, we can go inside of our CSV. If I go to Notepad here, we'll notice that it's all in clear text. So keep that in mind, that it is in clear text. And that is why we have to encrypt the actual zip file so that no one can just access the CSV on their own without the password anyway. So anyway, now that that's done, we can look here and we notice that we have our connection type, connection subtype, submode. These are all of our headers. And under each, we have the resulting information that relates to whatever the header is. So in this case, the connection type is RDP, 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 RDP. And then we have SSH terminal, since those were the types of entries that we had earlier exported. So anyway, all this information is here. And if you'd like, you can always export an entry, just one entry, and delete all the information under the headers in order to have a template. That way, if ever you want to import entries that aren't currently in your data source, then that could be a way to allow you to import brand new entries. Anyway, so now that this is done, we can look into how exactly we're going to import this stuff. So right now I'm in this vault, but let's say I go to my next vault here. This vault doesn't have an endpoints folder. So here's what we can do. We can choose to import and then select import from CSV. And in our case, we're going to want the import generic CSV wizard. The reason for this is because right underneath we have import software license wizard. This is purely for software license entries. So we don't want to use this one. Instead, since we're going to be importing sessions, we'll be using the wizard. Here we'll have our header format instruction. So there are 4 types of headers. We have our session, credential, information, and template. Now, these are all related to entry types. So in our case, since we're going to be using sessions, or importing sessions rather, this is what we'll want to use. Keep in mind that the CSV is pretty limited in the types of entries that it will allow you to import. What I mean by this is that there's no way to import sessions with credential entries, or session entries, credential entries, and information entries all at the same time. You will have to have a CSV file for your session entries, and then for your credential entries, and then for your information entries. So keep that in mind. And we're going to go get our entry list now. So if we go here and select our entry list, here now we can click on next. And all of our headers from earlier are mentioned, as well as the information from earlier. So all the way down here. Now that this is done, we can click on next. Here we'll ask if you want to change anything in the mapping, meaning that the entry type is related to the connection type header. I can make it so that no, it's in fact related to the keywords header. That's possible. You'll need to make sure though that the value under, in this case for this example, keywords, is the value that will allow you to have the proper entry type. We can click on finish. Again, it will confirm now that we have everything we need. So we've had 6 successes. None were ignored and none failed. So that's great. We can choose to change the ID, which I highly recommend, especially if you're going to be importing in a data source using a that already has these entries in a separate vault. I highly recommend to choose change ID. Otherwise, you will have conflicts within your database. So click import. And there we go. We now have our entries.